Hello, happy Thursday to you. So we have finally made it. We are moved out of that house in the state, and we are in our new state. Very happy to be here. Not all has gone smoothly, of course. um, some of it involves cats. um, so I have one cat that had a UTI. She needed her medicine, and we're in the hotel, and she got up under the box spring, got in there, would not come out. And I tried and I tried and I tried for almost an hour to get her out. She would not come out. And I eventually ended up having to tip the mattress and get her out that way. And when I tipped the mattress, my other cat made a yelp, and I thought I heard him, and I was just a mess. I cried and I cried and I cried, and I cursed everything, and so much has happened. Like, I can't even. So I eventually was able to round up the cats and take them over to my friend's house to go see my friends, and my friend looked them over and she thought that everything looked fine. And so we went home, not home, went to the motel, and later that night he went to use the cat box, and he was crying in pain, and he got out of the cat box and got back in, out in, just kept repeating, trying to urinate, and he couldn't. So I again immediately thought that I had done something, that it was because of me, and I was just stressed and sad, and so I grabbed my phone and I start looking for vets, and my phone decides that that's the best time in the world to stop working, of course. And so I grabbed my laptop, and I'm trying to get on that, and it starts telling me you have to disconnect. You must disconnect. Wi-Fi unsafe. Wi-Fi unsafe. So I had to get off of there, and it wouldn't let me do anything else until I disconnected. So I had no way to, look for vets or anything or do anything. So I grabbed my phone again, and I try to get that thing working, and I don't know for how long I tried, a long time, and then I hear 911, what's your emergency? And I'm just like, what? Apparently my phone decided to call 911 on me. So I tell the guy, I don't have an emergency. I'm very sorry. I don't know what happened. My phone is broken. I was trying to get it to work again, and somehow it called you. And so he had to sit there and ask me a bunch of questions. What's your name? Where are you? What room are you in? Blah, 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 blah. And I'm just like, great, now, I'm in this new place, and here I am with my name in the books. and then so the next morning I kind of slept on and off, and I woke up really early and tried my phone again. Not for long though, believe me. Still wouldn't work. So I gathered up the cats, got in the car, went to my friend's house, woke them up 8 in the morning, and told them, I don't know what to do. My phone is broken. I can't do anything with it. I'm in this place. I don't know where I am. I don't know where to go. I don't know how to get there. I need help. I've got to get my cat to the doctor, and so he, took us to a vet, and they, asked questions and stuff, and took a blood test in the urine, and It turns out that he has a bunch of stones in his urine, and so he gave him an antibiotic and then gave me some medicine for him and told me to change his food, and we got all that. And then this morning, my son and I were just freaking exhausted from all this. A lot more has happened, but I'm just skimming through. And so, I just wanted us to sleep in and, get some rest. But I got up to give my girl her seizure meds and my guy his meds. And I gave it to him. And we went back to bed, woke up a couple hours later, and a realtor calls and she says, I've got some places lined up. Do you want to go out and look today? And of course I said yes. And so we, I started to get ready, and I'm looking for everybody, do a head count, and I can't find my guy with the stones. And I looked everywhere. Everything in here is open, there's no doors, no, anything. It's all open, and I can't find him anywhere. And I had the window open like a crack, because we're on the 3rd floor and I wanted a little bit of air. And so I go to the window and there's a tear in the screen, and I just start bawling my eyes out. I'm hysterical. I'm just a mess. I mean, a mess. I'm imagining everything. I imagine he fell from that 3rd floor. Somebody probably saw him, did something with him, or he got scared and he ran into the traffic here, which is insane. And, I'm just imagining everything bad, and I'm freaking out. I'm going through the parking lot in my freaking socks, calling for my cat. I call animal control. I call all these other places, they don't have a cat like him. And I'm just losing it. And so finally, I saw this woman outside, and she was, having her dog, do his business. And someone told me to go up to her, so I go up and I ask her, have you seen a black cat? And she said, no, I'm sorry, I haven't. And she said, have you talked to the people up front? And so that was the first thing that I did when I started to go outside, was I went and asked them, I said, I think my cat fell out of your window. Have you seen any cat? And he kept looking at me saying, your cat, your cat. And to be honest, I don't know how many times I answered him, yes, my cat, my cat. And I got pissed, but I didn't say anything. I didn't get rude. And, I just turned around and walked out the doors, to look for my cat. So I told her, yeah, I did. I went and asked them, and I told her, to be honest, they looked at me like I was stupid or something. She said, yeah, they're kind of here, And I said, yeah. And then she said, well, my dog did that one time here, and she told me there's a place in the mattress that you can't see, and you have to lift it up, and you have to go to this certain point, and blah, 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 So I said, okay, thank you. But I really had no hope. I didn't think that was going to happen, because I've been calling him in the room too forever, and he never responded. Nothing, So we come back in the room, and I'm like, oh my God, I don't want to do this. I'm so scared I'm going to lift it up and he's not going to be there. And, I'm scared to do it. And finally, I'm praying and, everything. And then finally I got the courage to lift it up, and guess who was there? Oh my God, I was so happy. And then, somewhere in that, the realtor sent me a message saying she was on her way, to take us to look for, the houses. And I was like, oh my God, I got to get a hold of her. So I called her and I told her, my cat, well, this was right before I found him. And I told her, my cat fell out of the window. And she said, okay, well, we'll reschedule or whatever, you know. And I said, okay. And she said, would you like some help looking for him? And I said, I would, you know. So she drove here and got here just as I found him. And so, yeah, I told her there's this one house that I've been looking at online, and this is the one that she told me she wanted to take me to. She didn't know yet that I had been looking at this house. And so I told her, you know, when she got here and we talked for a minute, I said, can you just go ahead and make an offer? She said, what? I said, I got to get out of here. Can you just make an offer on the house? You know, I went out of this motel and she said, yeah, I do agree. You need to get out of here. And she told me, you know, it might not be the best area. She said, don't go walking around at night. And that's a whole other story how we ended up here. And so I said, yeah. She said, well, let's just go see the houses first, you know, and she arranged for that to happen later today. And she starts texting me at 2 o'clock saying, are you here and are you on your way? And I said, you said 3 o'clock, right? She said, yeah, 3 o'clock. I'm here now. And I was like, looking at my phone. My phone says 2 o'clock. And then I thought, oh, well, maybe something happened when they turned my phone, the new phone on, because I had to buy a new phone. And the time change for whatever reason didn't kick in, you know. So I'm thinking again that I'm, you know, at fault for this one too. And I tell her, oh my God, it must be my phone. You know, my phone says 2 o'clock. And she's all, no, it's after 3. And I said, you know, I said, I'm so sorry. And can you please apologize to the people that, you know, we're going to let us see their house today? And then I hang up with her and we reschedule for tomorrow. And I'm like, this isn't right. There's no way it's 3 o'clock. So I call my friend, you know, and I say, what time is it? She said, it's 2 o'clock. Why? You know, I explained what was going on. And then I hung up with my friend and I got on my phone and I asked Google, what time is it? And Google said 2 o'clock too. And so the day goes on. And then finally, you know, later on in the day, she calls me and says, oh my God, I owe you an apology. I took my car in to get fixed a few days ago. And I was looking at that time in the car and I'd never changed the time in the car to go back. So I was wrong. I was totally in the wrong. I'm so sorry. You know, and I told her, please, that's okay. You know, we've all had a day, you know, and I told her, hopefully tomorrow, you know, you won't have me blubbering all over the place. Oh my God. It was miserable, let me tell you. So I'm hoping that I'm going to be able to buy a house because I just want to all be in our home in a safe place together. I don't want to, like, when I take my cats over to my friend's house with us because I don't like leaving them in the hotel room because I don't trust people, you know, trust issues. And it's just such a hassle, you know, because they're scared, they're nervous, they don't know these people. So if, you know, my friends keep telling me to let them out of their crate, their carriers, I mean, and I do, and they go hide. And then when it's time to leave, we got to move furniture, we got to move this, we got to move that, we got to pull this, we got to push that, it's to dig cats out, and then they get out, and then they're flying across the rooms, and I'm trying to, you know, catch them, my son's trying to catch them, my friend's husband's trying to catch him, and, you know, it's a thing every day, and they keep telling me, you know, that they want me to stay with them, and I'm like, you don't know, my cats are a lot, you know, and there's, right now, you know, they're scared, you know, they don't know what the heck is happening, so, you know, and, you know, I don't want to do that to my friends. They might not be my friends anymore. I'm kidding about that part, but, you know, it's a lot. They have a little Chihuahua dog, you know, and oh God, it's just been so much, and it's been a lot, and I just hope to God that things work out quickly so that we can get our house and get situated. And, you know, there may be issues with all of that too, which is another thing which I'm not going to get into now because this is a long video. But if you pray, please pray that things will work out and work out quickly, please. So I will be back when I can, hopefully with good news. I miss being on here and, you know, miss everyone. But believe me, you would not want to deal with me lately. So, like I said, hopefully I'll see you soon. Bye.